Hello, my name is Aviva, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 20 book recommendations with the single parent trope. So this is one of my favorite tropes of all time, and I know that I say that with like almost all of the trope videos that I make, but I'm really not joking this time. Like, honest to God, I absolutely love this single parent trope. What I really love about it is that the child ends up getting so close to like the other main character, and like the main character not only has to fall in love with like the other main character, that's the single parent, but they also have to accept and fall in love with the child as well. And I love seeing everything about the dynamic. Like, single parent tropes, they're freaking awesome. And I know that you guys love it too, because you guys have been requesting for me to make this video for a while. So today I have got you covered with a crap ton of book recommendations. So let's not waste any time and jump straight into the books. The first one that I have to share with you is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. So I'm pretty sure this is one of the first single parent books that I ever read. And this is also a small town romance. It's also a very, very slow burn. So if you're not familiar with Mariana Zapata and you plan to pick up one of her books, then really just like, go into it with the right mindset of that you're there for like the journey and not necessarily the destination, even though the destination is like so worth the wait. But like, it's just a very, very, very slow burn, and her books are like very, very thick. So like, you just got to know that going into it. But either way, this is a small town romance with a single parent trope. This girl is recently like coming out of a very long relationship, and she decides to move back to the place that she grew up in, which is a small town in Colorado. And when she gets there, she ends up renting a room above this garage from this guy who happens to be a single parent. And then it's like a whole situation how it goes down, but basically it is absolutely amazing. She's going to end up not only falling in love with like the kid that is living on her property, but obviously also the dad, who is such a grump. So it's like a grumpy sunshine situation. And just all around the board, this book is absolutely amazing, and I cannot rave about it enough. And then if you end up loving this book, then you also can check out Wait for It by Mariana Zapata, which is another single parent book, except this girl is guardians to her two nephews because her brother had died and left custody to her. So for the past 2 years, she has been trying to become, a single mom. They just moved to a new house, and she's going to end up having a romance with her next door neighbor. So this one is absolutely adorable. It also has a little bit of like a sports vibe to it because the little kid is a baseball player, and then the guy that she's going to end up falling in love with, that is the neighbor, ends up being like his coach. So like, there's a lot of really good dynamics in this one, and I absolutely loved it. I'm not sure which one I loved more. I think maybe this one, but honestly, they're both so good in their own way. So definitely check out some Mariana Zapata. But if this is too like slow a burn for you and you're like not down for it, then maybe you want to check out The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. So I read this book a very long time ago, and I'm very happy that I read it when I did, because this is third person, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much now, because now for some reason my brain cannot wrap around third person like POV. But if that is okay for you, then I highly recommend checking this one out. So in this book, you're following this girl who is a single mom, and she ends up somehow giving her DNA to this matchmaking site that ends up finding your soulmate through your DNA. And she ends up getting matched up with the owner of this company, except she already knows the guy and she doesn't really like him. So the company ends up paying her to fake date him to kind of like help promote the company, because they're like about to go public or something like that. And then obviously they're going to end up falling in love like either way, even though they didn't like each other. They're going to fake date, fall in love. Very cute scenario. And she is a single mom. So if you're cool with third person POV, then I highly recommend checking out The Soulmate Occasion. But if you don't like third person POV, then maybe you'd want to check out Scandalous by LJ Shen, which is the third book in the Sinner of Saints series. So this is one of my favorite companion series of all time. And in this book, you are following, I think his name was like Trent or something like that. No, I don't know. Either way, it doesn't really matter. But in this book, you're following this guy. He is very, very wealthy. He's like the owner of this company, and like him and his friends, they all own it, and all of the friends get their own book. And in this book, he is a single dad. He had gotten somebody pregnant like a couple of years ago, and she kind of like ran off. So now he's just like raising his kid, and the kid has like a couple of issues. Like, she doesn't want to talk, or like ever since the mom left, like she doesn't talk even though she can. So it's a whole thing. It's like very detailed in this book, and honestly it made for like a really great element. But he's a really cool guy, except he's like very standoffish, like kind of a little bit scary and intimidating. And he ends up having a relationship with one of his new business partner's daughters that's going to end up getting an internship in his office. So a very interesting scenario. It's kind of a workplace environment, very forbidden, very taboo vibes, and it's obviously an age gap because the girl is way, way younger than him. So single parent, age gap, workplace environment, forbidden romance with I think it's a grumpy sunshine. I don't really know, but either way, very, very, very good book. Highly recommend this one. And then if you end up really liking the like workplace rich guy sort of vibe, then The Takeover by T.L. Swan might work for you too, because this guy is very wealthy, very arrogant, all that sort of vibes. And then he ends up falling in love with a girl that is a couple of years older than him. So this is like a reverse age gap, but it's not too big. Like she's just like a couple of years older than him. And anyway, they kind of met when he was trying to take over his, like her company, because she's kind of like going bankrupt or something. And she ends up saying no because like her late husband had left the company for her to like take care of, to eventually give to like, you know, her kids. And then like, you know, she's kind of failing, but she's like embarrassed about it, whatever. It's a whole situation. It doesn't really matter. But basically that's kind of how they meet. And then like later on, they're going to end up meeting again. And that's when they're going to end up having their romance. And happens to be, she's a single mom, and her children, the way that like this guy ends up interacting with her children is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Like literally like laugh out loud funny, you couldn't breathe. So if you want a really good laugh and you want some like really like funny children in your single parent book, then please check this book out, because oh my God, what a freaking good time. But if that's not so much your vibe and you rather see a book that has like a much younger child, that is just like she's a single parent, but like the kid isn't like extremely involved, or maybe she was already a single mom and then she was pregnant too. I don't really remember the dynamics, unfortunately, but either way, 1% of You by Michelle Gross is another single parent where this girl, I think she did have one child and then she was pregnant, but or maybe she was just pregnant for the first time. I'm so sorry that I can't remember the dynamics of this, but either way, she's pregnant. She is now single, and she ends up meeting this guy that lives across the street from her, and they're going to end up having a romance. Oh yeah, she does have a second kid, because I remember that not only is she pregnant, but she also was in the grocery store the first time that she met this guy, because the guy ends up trying to steal the last bag of potato chips from her little kid and ends up like making the kid like really angry. And I was like, who are you to like steal a bag of chips from a little girl? You know what I mean? So it was a very funny situation how they met for the first time. It's very much like a grumpy sunshine situation, or maybe he's just a grump. Is he a sunshine? I don't remember. But either way, this is a really good time, and it's very heavy on like the guy falls first. So like he ends up like, you know, he feels really bad about what he did in the grocery store, and then he ends up like really getting like obsessed with them and ends up like, you know, trying to become their friends, and just like, you know, he's always looking out for them, and then, you know, he ends up taking care of them, and then he's gonna, you know, obviously a relationship is gonna like happen between the two of them. And throughout this book, she is gonna become like pregnant into like having her child, and he's going to like help her to the hospital. There's a lot of really cute moments in this book. So if you are a big fan of guy falls first with a single parent trope, then this is definitely the book for you, because like it is very heavy on those topics. But if you don't like this book, because I honestly explained it like very badly, then maybe you just want to check out The Marriage Effect by Carla Sorensen, which is the third book in the Washington Wolves companion series. So I did like talk about this book in a lot of my recent videos, so I'll try to be really quick about this. This is a marriage of convenience with a sports romance and a single parent that's more of a guardian. So he's like really their older brother, but he's been taking care of them for the past couple of while, and he has to basically get married to be able to keep custody of them, because his brother is trying to steal custody from him, because like he's married and like this guy's just a pro football player and not married. So he ends up marrying this girl who is an ex-model that ends up needing to get married in order to inherit her $3 million inheritance. So yeah, very a lot of stuff going on, but a very good story. Single parent, definitely. And then if you end up really enjoying this book and you end up liking the children in this book, then they do end up getting their own spin-off series, and happens to be the fourth book in that series. It's the Ward Sisters companion series, is a single parent trope. So this one is forbidden. It's also an age gap and a workplace environment and a grumpy sunshine. This guy is a widow and an ex-MMA fighter, and he ends up buying this gym that this girl is the manager at, and then they're obviously going to end up having a romance. So she's a couple of years younger than him, and honestly, she's kind of had a crush on him like his entire career. Like she used to like have like posters about him like in her room when she was growing up and everything like that. So it's a very cute story, and it is a single parent. So I highly recommend checking this one out. This is like one of my favorite books of the year so far. So I highly recommend it. But if that's not so much your vibe, because like maybe you don't love age gap so much, then maybe you want to check out Juniper Hill by Devney Perry, which is a small town romance single parent. So this girl, she just had a baby, and she decided to like leave her entire like socialite life in New York City and drive and move to a small town in Montana, where she's going to end up being a housekeeper for the hotel that is there, and she's going to end up renting the apartment above, you know, the garage of this guy that happens to work at the hotel too, and also his sister owns the hotel. So a lot of you know, connections there. But basically, it's another one of those grumpy sunshine situations, and he's going to end up like really taking care of her, and like, you know, they're going to end up obviously getting close because like she's a newborn baby, and he's going to wake up in the middle of the night all the time because like he's going to hear her crying, like he's going to hear the kid crying, and then like, you know, it's a cute situation. So yeah, this is a very cute small town romance with a single parent trope. And then if you end up liking this one, then another small town romance single parent trope is Ignite by Melanie Harlow. So I recommended this in another recent video too, so I'll be quick about it. But this guy is divorced, he has 2 little girls, he ends up moving next door to this girl who is a bunch of years younger than him, and then they're going to end up having a relationship. So it's an age gap, grumpy sunshine. He is a fighter, single parent, and it's a small town romance. And then happens to be, if you end up liking this one, then there's another book in that companion series as well. It's the Cloverleaf Farms companion series, and Irresistible is the first book in that series, and this happens to be about the parents of this girl. So like this girl is a child in this book, and it obviously takes place like a bunch of years before, but this one is a workplace environment single dad trope. He has a bunch of little girls, and he's going to end up having a relationship with, I think, the owner of the place where he's working at. Like he works at like the Cloverleaf Farms, like it's a hotel, estate, whatever you want to call it, and he's basically going to end up having a relationship with like I don't know, someone who owns the place. I don't know, honestly, because I didn't read this one yet, but I wanted to recommend it anyway because I have heard that if you liked this book, then you will very much like this book because they are super similar. Like even when I was reading this book, they reference this book so often. So I do plan to read this one very soon, but unfortunately I haven't read it yet. But we're going to pretend that I did because I'm recommending it to you. But I have a good feeling about it, so I'm not so worried about that, you know? But either way, if you don't want to read those, or maybe you read them already, then you could also check out Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow, which is a brother's best friend's single parent trope. So this is part of the Bellamy Creek companion series. It's like, it is like somewhat connected to Cloverleaf Farms because sometimes they mention Cloverleaf Farms, but either way, it's like a completely like separate series and it doesn't really matter. But either way, brother's best friend, single parent, very cute story. But either way, that's enough of Melanie Harlow. We can move on to some Adriana Locke with Sway, which is the first book in the Landry Family companion series. So I did talk about this book a lot in my recent videos as well, but we're going to quickly go over it again. So in this book, you are following this guy who is a politician, and he ends up seeing this girl at one of his campaign events, and like she's a waitress, and he ends up really liking what he sees. But unfortunately, she's not interested in him because not only is she a single parent, but she also has like an ex-husband that was a politician, and she's got like, you know, very bad experience from that whole situation. So she's not really into like dating a politician, but this guy is not going to take no for an answer. So he's going to end up like chasing after her, and it's very much like a guy falls first with a single parent trope. And it also is like a small town romance vibe, but like not super heavy on that, but it is technically like a small town romance. But either way, yeah, Sway by Adriana Locke, I definitely recommend this one. And then the next couple of books, I just want to say that I didn't love as much as the books that I've already talked about, but I know that everybody has like, you know, different tastes, and if something didn't work for me necessarily, it still might work for you. So I want to quickly recommend the last few books in this video, but I'm only half-heartedly recommending them because like I think all of the rest of these books, they kind of got like a 3.5 stars or less, but you know, they might work better for you. So I'm going to mention them anyway. So with that said, first up, I have Broken French by Tasha Boyd, as well as Mr. Masters by T.L. Swan. So these are both nanny romances with like a billionaire guy. So happens to be Broken French is a little bit of a slower burn than Mr. Masters. So in this book, you're following this girl who ends up becoming the nanny for this billionaire guy who is taking his daughter on his yacht for the summer in the south of France. So this is like very atmospheric because you basically get to go on vacation in like the south of France, but it's also a single parent, and it is a grumpy sunshine, and you know, it's a very cute romance, but it is a bit of a slower burn. And then happens to be this one, while it's very similar because it is also another like a billionaire romance with a nanny vibe, this one is a little bit more steamy. It's very like kinky and everything along those lines. Like she is taking a year off to basically go from Australia, where she lives, to Europe for like the year with her friend, and she's going to end up being a nanny for this billionaire guy who is a grump. So it's another grumpy sunshine, but like happens to be he's like a little bit damaged, so like he's got this weird like sexual appetite, and she's going to end up fulfilling it. So if you're very into like heavy smut books, then I recommend possibly checking this one out. But if that's not so much your vibe, then you might want to check out Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. So this book is very popular lately. I know that a lot of people are absolutely loving it, but unfortunately I didn't love it a ton, but it still was like good enough that I made it through like, you know, the whole book, and I only skimmed a little bit of it. But basically there are a ton of really good tropes in this. So like, this is a grumpy sunshine, it's a small town romance, it's a single parent, it's like, you know, neighbors, as well as like she's working for him. There's a lot of interesting dynamics that's probably the reason why a lot of people are liking it, because it kind of like, you know, checks off the boxes of like a lot of stuff that people love. But I didn't absolutely love this one because it is a little bit thick. I think it did drag, and just like overall, like it didn't 100% work for me, but it might work for you. So you might want to check it out because it is a single parent, and I know a lot of people love it. But if you don't want to check this one out and you're a fan of second chance romances, then you might want to check out Come Back For Me by Corinne Michaels. So I didn't love this book because I'm not a fan of second chance romances, but if you are a fan of second chance romances, then you might want to check this one out. But I recommend looking up some trigger warnings for it, because there are stuff for like physical abuse on page, as well as like some alcoholism and stuff along those lines. Like these two people, they had a one night stand a very long time ago. They went their separate ways, but they never forgot about each other, and then they run back into each other when they're both living in the same small town. And she is like, you know, a mom, and her husband is abusing her, so he's going to end up helping her and the daughter get away, and then they're going to end up having their own romance. So it's a solid story if that type of story is like up your vibe, but it's not so much up my vibe. So that's why this one didn't so much work for me. But anyway, another one that didn't work for me because of like the basic trope of it is Look the Part by Julie Ann. So this is an accidental pregnancy, which I'm not a fan of, but if you're a fan of accidental pregnancies, then this one might work for you. So this is a grumpy sunshine. He's a lawyer and she is like a musician therapist or something like that, and she ends up renting the office space above his office, and she's very loud, and like he doesn't really like that she's like working above him because he can never concentrate. So like, you know, they don't really get along right off the bat. And then also he is a single parent, and then the kid ends up really like connecting to the girl, so like that is kind of her in, and that's how they end up connecting. So it's a pretty solid story. Like it's not horrible, but like it is an accidental pregnancy, and I'm not a fan of that. So that's why this one didn't work for me. But again, if you're a fan of accidental pregnancies, then this one might work for you. But either way, I only have two more books to share with you. So one more is The Coppersmith Farmhouse by Devney Perry. So this is a single parent. She is a single mom, and she ends up moving to this small town after she inherits this Coppersmith farmhouse, and she's gonna end up having a relationship with, I think he's the sheriff of the town, but he also happens to be the guy that has been taking care of the house that she just inherited for the past like 20 years or so. So he, like, they don't start off on good terms because like he kind of like wanted the house and he didn't end up inheriting it. She ended up inheriting it. So like he's kind of like, you know, he's got like he doesn't like her right off the bat, but then he ends up realizing that like, you know, she's a little bit different than he thought she was going to be. So then they're going to end up falling in love. So I didn't really like this book because I found this guy to be a little bit too much for me. Like I just didn't click with this guy. He made me a little bit uncomfortable, but I know that a lot of people like this book. So, you know, you maybe want to check it out, but like fair warning, I didn't love it, but it is a cute small town romance with a single parent. So, you know, you might want to check it out. You might not, I don't really know, but I'm recommending it. I'm not recommending it. I'm mentioning it anyway. And either way, the last book that I'm going to share with you is Happily Letter After by V. Keeland and Penelope Ward, or just Penelope Ward or V. Keeland, I don't know, but it's up on the screen, so it doesn't really matter. But either way, the reason why I didn't absolutely love this book is because it was a little bit too much of a Hallmarky type of movie for me. So the thing is that this guy is a single parent, and his daughter ends up sending a bunch of letters to like a secret Santa column, and this girl that ends up working for the magazine that is in charge of this like Santa column ends up seeing her letters and kind of like gets really involved. Like she kind of wants to like give everything that like the kid is asking for, and that is when she's going to end up meeting the guy, and then like, you know, they're going to end up having a relationship. And it's very interesting how it works out. Like there's a bit of like lying, because like she can't really explain how she, you know, showed up at their doorstep one day, because like it's a secret Santa sort of situation. But either way, it's kind of pretty cute how it like plays out, I'm not gonna lie, but it is a little bit Hallmarky for me, because like it's all of like, oh, it's meant to be, and like, you know, secret Santa and like dreams coming true, you know what I mean? So like I liked it and it was cute, and maybe read it like Christmas time, because like that's, I feel like it's like the vibe to just read it then. But either way, it is a single parent and it was pretty cute. It was just too Hallmarky for me. So either way, that is my last recommendation for you. That is the 20 single parent books that I wanted to share with you today. So let me know if you've read any of these books and if you would enjoy them, or if you know, plan to read any of the books that I recommended to you today. So So leave me a comment down below. Also, if you have any other recommendations for me that is a single parent trope that I didn't mention in this video, I would love to, get some more recs because I obviously love this trope. So again, leave a comment, give this video a like if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed because I would really appreciate it. And either way, thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate that. And until next time, enjoy reading.